I hereby call the regular, or is this actually a special, is this actually a special meeting?
This is a regular meeting.
I hereby call the regular meeting of the Administrative Appeals Board of December 27th, 2023 to order. Board Secretary, please conduct a roll call.
Board Member Basili?
Here.
Board Member King? Here. Board Member Parker?
Here.
Vice Chair Panessa?
Here.
And Chair St. Clair.
Here,
5 members present.
Set in order.
our first agenda item is the acceptance of the agenda. The board can discuss and may amend the agenda. The order of the agenda, and I would entertain a motion and a second for acceptance of the agenda.
I move to accept the agenda. I'll second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Board Secretary, please call the roll.
Board Member Basili?
Aye.
Vice Chair Panessa?
Aye.
Board Member King? Aye. Board Member Parker?
Aye.
And Chair St. Clair.
Aye.
Accepted 5-0.
The first item on the agenda is public comment. No, if I have to go through this, looks like we don't have any public comments.
No
do we?
public comments signed up.
So the public comment period is over since we don't have it. The first one is the appeal of the decision of a 6-month suspension of the vacation rental registration certificate and administrative fine of $2,500 to Alyssa and Robert Bekazarian for the property located at 1105 via San Michael Road, Palm Springs. Looks like we don't have anybody here.
The appellant's online.
Oh, okay. So, Board Secretary, please ensure the city staff and appellant understand that their testimony is under oath.
We do have signed affidavits from city staff and appellant is on Zoom. We desire to testify under this appeal hearing under the laws of perjury. If you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In the beginning.
Let's
Yes,
say you may begin. Patrick, introduce yourself.
hi, I'm Robert Beknazarian.
Patrick,
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, city staff, and constituents on the call this evening. My name is Patrick Clifford with the Department of Special Program Compliance, and we oversee the vacation rental program here in the city of Palm Springs. The first item before you is a staff report relating to the property located at 1105 via San Michael Road. Some background with this property, it is a registered vacation rental with an effective start date of September 1st, 2022. This staff report illustrates that it was found in violation of our Palm Springs Municipal Code, specifically 5.25070B, which outlines that contracts are needed and there's contract limits within our municipal code. And with respect, contract summaries are required to be submitted to the enforcement official prior to each short-term occupancy. This is important because contract summaries allow our code compliance staff to monitor to make sure that registered vacation rentals are compliant with respect to contract limitations illustrated in the contract summary, and as well gives other important information that's beneficial for code compliance officers when they're doing investigation duties at a registered vacation rental. Each application that's submitted to the vacation rental department annually, there is information in the application that owners or operators acknowledge and initial that a contract summary is required to be submitted to this the department. Additionally, our administration staff does send an initial email at the start of their vacation rental property, which is an attachment 5 in your staff report that illustrates other not forgetting about contract summaries, also additional information, for example, submitting transient tax. Included in that email message is an important reminder to the owner that contract summaries must be submitted and a link that directs them to the contract summary tool. Additionally, code staff did find that this property was in violation of not submitting contract summaries to the city prior to each short-term rental occupancy. The code compliance supervisor, Nabhan, is here to provide further testimony on what led to the investigation, what was found, and why the citation was issued. And additionally, if a review of the contract summaries are in your staff report as attachment 6, and I will let Code Supervisor Nabhan provide further testimony on the investigation. Thank you.
Code officer, please introduce yourself and begin your testimony.
Happy to. Good evening. My name is Mitch Snapman. I'm a code compliance supervisor for the city of Palm Springs and oversee the vacation rental enforcement program. As Patrick mentioned, before you this evening is the consideration of a citation that was issued to the property owner of 1105 BSN Michael Road for failing to submit contract summaries. This originally came across my desk as a lead from our Office of Special Program Admin staff while they were processing the renewal application for this property. Upon receiving that information, I searched the city's applicable record-keeping database and confirmed that the city had not received any contract summary submissions for 1105 BSN Michael Road, city ID number 4384. At that point, I enlisted the help of Code Officer Gonzalez to open an investigation. During the course of our investigation, we found a corresponding advertisement for the property on Airbnb.com, which can be found in attachment number 6, beginning on page 142 of the staff report, with approximately 117 reviews from guests who had stayed at the property. Of those, there were 35 reviews in 2023, many of which indicated that they were short-term stays. On September 15th, 2023, Officer Gonzalez and I contacted the property owners, Alyssa and Robert Becknazarian, and requested records in accordance with Chapter 525080 of the Vacation Rental Ordinance. This chapter is related to audits and states that each owner, agent, or representative of any owner shall provide the enforcement official with access to each vacation rental and the books, records, documents, papers, tax returns, and bank accounts at any time during normal business hours as the enforcement official may determine are necessary or convenient for the purpose of inspection or audit to determine that the objectives and conditions of this chapter are being fulfilled. Knowing that there were no reported contract summary submissions, I requested copies of the signed and completed City of Palm Springs Vacation Rental Statement of Rules and Regulations forms for all guest stays and vacation rental bookings from January 2023 to September 2023. It's important to note that completing the Statement of Rules and Regulations is a separate requirement in addition to and not in lieu of submitting a contract summary, and is generally done during the check-in process between the property owner or their agent and their guests. Copies of this form are only provided to the city if requested. In this case, they were requested so that we could determine the property's utilization as a vacation rental and ensure compliance with the limits for contracts for vacation rental use. A deadline of 5 p.m. on September 28th, 2023 was established to have the requested records submitted. While that deadline came and went, the property owner did ultimately provide the records on Monday, October 9th, 2023. Upon receiving the scanned copies of 25 forms for vacation rental stays within the requested time frame, I made an additional records request on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 for a copy of the completed reservations report from the property owner's Airbnb hosting account, displaying all guest stays at their property titled Modern Luxury Villa, Pool Spa, and Barbecue Grill. After a couple of back and forth messages, which can be seen as a part of attachment number 3 on pages 21 and 22 of the staff report, the requested completed reservations report was sent to me on Friday, October 13th, 2023. After reviewing all the findings in our investigation, it was determined that Alyssa and Robert Becknazarian were in violation of Palm Springs Municipal Code, section 525070H, for facilitating at least 34 vacation rental stays between September 2022 and October 2023, and failed to submit a contract summary prior to their guests taking occupancy in each case. As a result, Officer Gonzalez drafted a notice of violation and citation to the vacation rental owners, which was sent via certified mail to the address on file. And that'll conclude what I have to present, so I'll hand it back over to Patrick, but I'll be available for any questions the board may have.
And thank you. And additionally, the violation is for Palm Springs Municipal Code 5.2507H, which at the end of the section does state that a summary or abstract of the written contract in a form approved by the enforcement official shall be filed to the enforcement official prior to each occupancy in a manner approved by the enforcement official, and shall be posted in a conspicuous location of the vacation rental property and shall be made available on site at the request of the enforcement official. And so that approved form we have is online on our vacation website called, it's a contract summary tool. When we created when I was drafting up the staff report, I did notice that the account submitted great information with screenshots of all the contract summary form. If you've never been on the contract summary tool, it's a web-based tool. You input your information, you hit submit. the submit button wasn't used when submitting these contract summaries. Instead, it looks that, there was a screenshot taken of each contract summary and saved for their files for future records. When we were putting the staff report together, I did notice that each of these screenshots had a date stamp with times. And I got curious because I know I've edited the contract summary tool throughout the year because of municipal revisions. And so if you look under the additional information in your staff reports, you'll see a few images, one dated February 27th, 2023, a second one dated February 9th, 2023, and the last image dated September 1st, 2022. And so those are images from our contract summary tool that's online, and this is the back end, and we're able to go back and look at revision histories of all the edits that I made to the contract summary tool. What was interesting that we found is that all the screenshots that were submitted by the appellant had the same description of the paragraph that you see under the the image February 27th, 2023, which matches all the submissions that submitted under the appeal. Specifically, that paragraph states that a contract summary is required each time a vacation rental property is booked by guest. A summary is to be submitted no later than the start time of the occupancy, and it goes on with further information. However, at that time, that form was edited, and if you look in February 9th, 2023, that introductory paragraph actually contains more information that differs from the evidence provided by the appellant, which includes information about owners and owners' friends' occupancies not having to submit a contract summary. And I verified that that paragraph was still stating such information on September 1st, 2022. And I believe in the appellant's appeal, the first screenshot of a contract summary submitted that at that time would have been screenshot and saved to their files had a date in September of 2022. However, that paragraph did not match the verbiage that was live in September of 2022. So we have concern that that form might have been edited after September 22, or maybe a print screened after September 1st, 2022. And so we provided that in the staff report that that information doesn't match what would have been live if the screenshot was taken in September 1st, 2022. And that's all the further information I have, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mitch, anything else?
So just to tag on to what Patrick had just mentioned, in the documents that the appellant had submitted, as far as I filled these out and I clicked Control-P and printed them. I believe there were 14 submissions that had dates that were previous to the edits that were made, that removed that specific verbiage. So the submissions that the appellant had submitted in September through February 1st, if they had been done at the time of the headers and footers that were listed on there, that form would have looked different. So the conclusion that we suspect is that this appellant had taken the most recent version after they were notified by our office and we were doing the audit, and had edited those headers and footers to kind of give the appearance that they were submitting them at the appropriate time. They only failed to hit that button that said submit. So and again, I believe, I'm sure the appellant will address this, but that they were completing 99% of it. They just didn't hit that button to submit it. But again, going back and reviewing our records, there's that discrepancy in what the form would have looked like at the time of those first 14 versus what it looks like currently.
Any else, other questions from the board? Mr. Podesta is shaking his head.
So, I always want to make sure I understand. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I want to make sure I understand. So there's kind of two pieces of information you're communicating to us about the contract summaries. One is that they weren't hitting the submit button. But the second is, like when I look at all these attachments, based on the date at the top of the attachment, that form should have been different than what the screenshots they sent to be included in this.
That's
Which-
correct.
Is it, okay, so I guess my question is it your position then that somehow those forms, it doesn't make sense why the form would look that way if it was done actually when he said it was done?
Correct, yes, I'm looking at the first example from the appellant that says a date stamp of September 8th, 2022 at 11:21 a.m. And if you look specifically at that first paragraph,
What page are you looking at? So,
I have page numbers on my staff report if you have it, so you can get it there.
I'm just curious, I just wanna look at the same thing you're looking at, just,
So I believe it's in what the account has submitted as part of attachment 3. Let me see if I can find the specific page number.
And while he's looking at that page number, that specific paragraph that's screenshotted right there is what's
At the top.
currently, the top of the page, that's what's currently live with our contract summary tool right now. I went back to our contract summary tool, what it looked like in September 1, 2022. And it had additional verbiage in there talking about the requirement that, that friends and families and friends and families owners did not have to do contract summaries at that time. That requirement has changed now. We do require contract summaries from friends and families. So around February, I took that verbiage out of the contract summaries. There was no confusion. And so that's what kind of gave us a flag that,
So that's like
That
page number 60.
60?
This is, well, I mean, that's the first one, but they're all the same.
Yeah, okay, so 60 is dated 9/2.
Trying to.
2022. And what you're saying is. Well, in 2022, the form did look like that, what we're seeing.
No,
from the appellants, that's not what our record showed that form would have seen.
So I see what you're saying, okay,
If you go on to the staff reports, where I have the images shown, dated September 1, 2022, that's what the form looked like at that time,
okay,
with the
friends and
language
family.
of friends and family language.
okay,
and,
all right, thank you,
Anything else, Ms. Vanessa?
not from me.
Other questions?
I do, Officer Nebon, I think you said this to me, but what was it that, or maybe you said it, Patrick, what was it that, first caught your attention to the fact that contract summaries were being submitted? I don't recall.
So, thank you for the question. While our administrative staff at the Office of Special Programs had received the appellant's vacation rental registration renewal application, part of that review process before issuing the renewed certificate is they look at a few things. They look to see if the TOT remittances have been filed. And part of their review is looking to see if contract summaries have been submitted. And so with this particular property, 0 contract summaries have been filed with the city. And so that was the initial thing that caught the attention of our special programs administrative staff to send it over to me as the enforcement staff to investigate to see if, if this property is facilitating vacation rental stays or if this is something that they may have just not been doing. And so that's where we investigated and found the ad and found evidence to support that they were facilitating vacation rental stays, which their permit allows them to do. They were just failing to complete that administrative task and submit those contract summaries. Yeah.
And were the transient taxes all remitted?
I believe so.
For those days?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions? No?
No.
Okay, thank you both for your testimony. It's appreciated. At this time, I would like to open the appeal hearing. The appellant is invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any members of the public who desire to speak on the appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes to speak. If any member of the public testifies, the appellant will be invited to provide a rebuttal of up to 2 additional minutes. So, Mr. Beknarzian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First off, I wanna start off by saying I appreciate everything that the short-term rental compliance office does. Because without that office, it would kind of be a chaos, the whole Airbnb operating, properties in Palm Springs. So I do want to express my gratitude, honestly. But I do have a question for Patrick, if I may.
Sorry,
Um,
I'm okay.
yeah, he's okay
I'm
with
okay
it.
with the question, thank you.
Patrick, reviewing my account, did you guys notice that prior to the permit that was issued on September 1st of last year, 2022, we were actually operating before that under a different permit number. The reason we switched over was because there was an owner name change from my mother's name, and the property went into my name. So that's why we obtained a new permit number. Did you guys notice that?
I just reviewed, when the start date was, so that might have been updated. If you had a different permit number before and the ownership changed, it probably did change the permit number, so I did, just list the start date as what's current on our master list. But I did not check if there was a past permit.
Okay, the reason I asked this question is because prior to this new permit being issued of September of last year, we were operating under a different permit number when the property was under my mother's name. She's now bedridden, she's ill. I'm full-time taking care of her with my spouse, but that's beyond the point. The reason I bring this up is because if you guys looked at the history of our property prior to that date, you would see that we always submitted contract summaries not because I did it, because my wife was managing the property at the time. Now, after my mom was diagnosed with an illness, my wife took over her care, and we also had a new addition in the family. We had a new baby last year, so she wasn't able to take care of the property full time like she used to. So on top of my usual business that I run daily, I was also forced to take on managing this property as well. So whenever we got the permit number, this new permit number last year, September of 2022, I took over as manager of this property when I honestly didn't have much experience in the management part. So the reason I bring this up is because I'm very, particular with making sure all the TOT taxes are paid, all the safety forms are filled out, for every guest. And if you look on the permit number, our existing permit number, you'll see that every single TOT has been paid on time. We never wanted to avoid any of those taxes. We always filled out the safety forms. I don't know what you guys are referring to regarding the contract summary, something not adding up, but I'm not, I don't know, tech savvy or whatever you guys call it to alter a document. These are literally printed documents that I've kept on file because I'm a little bit old school. So I just do everything manually. The reason I didn't click the submit button was because I'm under the implication that we click the submit button whenever we're paying TOT taxes. So the payment goes through on the card. And that's how I get a notification that the card has been charged. Now, I'm not in any way saying, I didn't make a mistake here by not clicking submit. Yes, I did make a mistake. Let's say I didn't click submit. But I want to make it clear that it was never my intention to willingly or, on purpose not to submit the contract summaries. Because if that was the case, if I didn't want to report which guests are staying at my house, I wouldn't have to report the TOT taxes either. I could have avoided, $600, $700, $800 depending on the month in TOT taxes. So why would I pay those taxes out of our funds, do the safety forms, keep record of this contract summaries, if during this entire time my intention was to deceive the city of Palm Springs or lie to you guys? Obviously, I had no intention of doing that. So that's the reason I wanted to appeal, and I paid this $900 something to have this appeal, because I wanted to explain that it was never really my intention to do anything wrong. If you look at our prior history with our old permit number, you would see the same exact thing. We did the TOT taxes, we did the contract summaries. My wife was better at these stuff, so she probably did click the submit button on the contract summary page whenever she did it. And we did do the safety forms. So this is just my side of the story. I just wanted to share that out there so you guys understand what kind of people we are. And now that we've learned that we have to click the submit button, we're submitting contract summaries. I mean, we just had a guest check-in today, and my wife helped me learn how to do it correctly, and she submitted that. So this is all I have to say. I mean, I'm not as fancy as maybe you or Nathan. Mitchell to have this fancy lingo or, have all these things to say. But all I can say is, honestly speaking, it was never our intention to lie to anyone or deceive or hold any booking information. I mean, I've done my best in the last year with everything that's piled up on top of us. Some things happen in life that are unexpected. My mother becoming ill, needing 24-hour care around the clock. I know that's none of your problem. It's a family personal issue, but I was hoping there would be a little more understanding because, at the end of the day, we're talking human to human. So I was just asking for a little bit of understanding on that part, and to know that it was never my intention to deceive anyone.
Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Patrick?
Just wanted to confirm, that the property did have a vacation rental certificate prior. It does look like it was under, as the appellant stated, mother. I checked contract summaries submitted prior. Contract summaries were submitted, in the system. I'm just looking at records between January 7th, 2021, all the way to August 13th, 2021, and, there is summaries submitted. So just confirming what the said.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I guess I have, sorry. This button's gonna be my downfall tonight. I guess I have one question, sir, is, looking at the screenshots you sent us, and there's a lot of them. I'm just having a really hard time understanding, like, the bottom line where you put in your TOT number, this submit button is right next to it. And I'm just really struggling with, why you wouldn't have taken that step or asked or something if other family members were doing this correctly. I'm just really struggling with, you had to have seen the submit button because it's right next to where you put in the TOT number. How did you miss that step?
I can answer that question. I always associate that button with processing some type of payment. I'm sorry, it's just a occupational thing. And usually I do the contract summaries after I've done the TOT taxes. I'm sorry, the TOT taxes was on my mind at every point because, I manage the funds, I make sure the funds are available whenever paying the taxes. So it just automatically I associate that button with some kind of charge going through. And I know the only charge we pay is the TOT taxes. So that's probably why I didn't click the submit button, because I didn't want any other charges happening. I understand how for someone who knows the right way to do these things, it might sound a little foolish, but like I said, I'm not very tech savvy. So I've pretty much done the best I could. But what I could say is the important thing is the taxes that were necessary to be paid. Those are all been paid. I didn't take any shortcuts there. Mitchell requested records of every single guest that stayed. I sent them a Airbnb printout of every single guest. It matched up with every single TOT tax that we've paid. I guess I don't have a good explanation as to why I haven't clicked the submit button. It's probably foolishness on my part. I can admit that. But like I said, it was never my intention not to do the contract summaries. I just always assume that this is something that we have to have for our records, just in case something like this always comes up. Now, obviously, I understand that this is something that's, in the database for everyone to review, but I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer than that. But all I can say is it hasn't been my intention to do anything such as deceiving or intentionally withholding information. I've basically poured out every single information I have from our files for Mitchell and everyone else to review. So I'm an open book. I'm a very honest person. I hope that translates when I'm speaking, because I don't have the intention of lying to anyone.
Thank you. One thing I want to explore that I read all the email exchanges between you and the compliance officer. You made a lot of accusations about this citation being racist. Do you need to speak to that, or is that something you're going to pursue?
The reason I felt that it might have been something having to do with racial ethnicity or something is because a few of my neighbors have also gotten citations. And what's funny is the only people that have gotten the citations have been people with my same ethnic background, same racial profile. I'm Armenian. I'm not ashamed to say that, but it kind of gives the impression that for some reason people are targeting my, Armenians in the area. I don't know if, there's a mutual understanding or people think we have a bad reputation, and I can't speak for anyone else, obviously, but it certainly came off that way. Obviously, after speaking with Mitchell, and I spoke with him over the phone, he seems like a very nice gentleman. I mean, I know he's just doing his work. I have nothing personal against him, and I don't plan on pursuing anything regarding that. No, that's the impression that I initially got.
All right, thank you very much. Is there discussion from the board?
I think it was just
Mike on.
it is on. I don't think there's any deception on his behalf. I think it was a mistake. I paid the taxes and everything, but the bottom line is there's a procedure you had to submit. And it's a tough one to think about because he did everything right except submit. So, I mean, it's really, we have to go by guidelines, and a document, the contract summary needs to be submitted. And it wasn't submitted. Taxes were paid, but it's clearly stated when people are given the guidelines is that you have to submit a contract summary, and it wasn't submitted. And so, unfortunately, it was a mistake.
Yeah. Anything from Jocelyn?
I was just gonna tag on to what you were saying, which is, I think there was the appellant said that there was a transition of duties when some other life events were happening. It's a shame that when he was taking it over, the previous person, I think you mentioned it was his spouse, maybe they can sit down together, just go through what you needed to do so that these things don't come up, but yeah, it was a mistake. It's unfortunate, but code is very clear on what needs to be done.
Anything, Michael?
I guess I'm agreeing with what they're saying, again, like Patrick said, I don't think he was trying to deceive. There's there's nothing that would make me think that. But if you don't hit submit, it's like hitting the save button. If you don't save your work, you don't have the work. If you don't hit submit, the city doesn't get the information, and that defeats the entire purpose of that system. The TOT system is in my understanding, the TOT system is completely separate. So this system doesn't ask for credit cards or anything. So I have a real hard time with, that notion that, you didn't hit submit because you thought it would charge you. Well, it asks for the dates, the number of people, things like that. Whether it was an oversight or, just not understanding the system, this is an important variable in that system. So.
And the problem is this is a very strict ordinance.
Mhm.
And the ordinance has given us no leeway at all. Zero leeway. So whether it was, and I don't believe it was intentional either, and as we often do in these cases, we have sympathy. However, that does not help us with our decision. So is there a motion?
I just want to address really quickly the issue of the screenshots that staff brought up. I think what that alludes to me is that, maybe the appellant, realized, oh, I made a mistake, I should have been submitting these contract summaries all along to the city. And then, it appears, tried to sort of cover the tracks to make sure that, the city knew that, that was done. So in my mind, there's, not saying that it wasn't a mistake in the beginning, but it looks like there was a little bit of a, let me cover my tracks issue afterwards to cover the tracks.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to uphold the suspension and the fine.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion? Would the secretary please call the roll?
Board Member Vasili,
Aye.
Board Member Parker,
Aye.
Board Member King,
Aye.
Vice Chair Panessa,
Aye.
and Chair Sinclair.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to adopt the resolution upholding the administrative decision.
Mr. Beckman, Nazarian, your appeal has been denied. The city will be in touch with you, and I think if you talk with Mr. Clifford, there's some leeway on when the suspension starts. Is that correct? Or is it already started?
I believe the suspension letter is been mailed out. Let me check the staff report really quick just to see when that was. 1 second there, but we have in the past, if there was like a negative impact on close gas, we would extend it at some point, but. Let's see, I'm just trying to find it. The big package.
January 14th.
January 14th, the suspension period would be effective January 14th, 2024.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes this hearing. Let's go on to the next appeal. Concerns the property of 390 West Cortez is an appeal of the administrative decision of a 2-year suspension of a vacation registration certificate and a fine of $500. Is that right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Board Secretary, please ensure the city and staff and appellant understand that the testimony is under oath.
We do have signed affidavits from city staff. The appellant is on Zoom. If you desire to testify under this appeal hearing, under the laws of perjury, if you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You may begin.
The appellant is invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any members of the public who desire to speak on the appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes to speak, and if any member of the public testifies, the appellant will be invited to provide a rebuttal of up to 2 additional minutes. So, with the appellant, or no, I'm sorry, the city, go ahead and present the case.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, city staff, constituents, joining us this evening. My name is Patrick Clifford, Department of Special Program Compliance, and we oversee the vacation rental program here in the city of Palm Springs. Before you is a staff report relating to the property at 390 West Cortez here in Palm Springs. It was found that this property is in violation of Palm Springs Municipal Code 5.25090B, whereas upon a third violation in any 12-month period, the city manager shall suspend the vacation rental certificate up to 2 years. In the staff report, you'll see a summary of each citation that was issued. The first citation issued on March 19th, 2023, a second citation issued August 6th, 2023, and a third citation issued September 23rd, 2023. And it's also broken down in the table on the staff report with the respective violation. The code officer that issued the third violation is here to provide further testimony on what led to the issuance of the third citation. And with respect to the suspension of the 2-year certificate, the suspension of the vacation rental certificate, we did have the city manager sign that suspension letter, and that is included as attachment 7 with effective suspension of November 13th, 2023 for a period of 2 years ending November 13th, 2025. And I would like to invite the code officer to provide further testimony on the issuance of third citation. Thank you.
Officer, please tell us your name and give us your report.
Good evening, members of the board, my fellow city staff, and members of the public with us today. My name is John Ingram. I'm a co-compliance officer for the city of Palm Springs. On September 22nd, 2023, I received a complaint from the vacation rental hotline regarding loud music coming from the property of 390 West Cortez Road. I received a vacation rental hotline call at 11:44 p.m. and arrived at the property at approximately 11:53 p.m. From the street in front of the property, I was able to hear music beyond property lines, and from that same location, I performed a decimal reading of the music heard. All the readings were over the allowed sound level for the time heard and for the residential zone of the property where the property is located. I was also able to Shazam the songs that were being heard upon arrival. I contacted the responsible renter and advised her of the complaint. I informed the occupant of the vacation rental rules regarding music in the city of Palm Springs, and I issued a citation A7144 for the music violation to the occupants who booked the short-term rental stay. The renter agreed they were in violation of the music ordinance and understood if there is a second attempt to obtain compliance, there would be additional fines issued to the responsible renter. Once the citation was issued, there was no more music complaints linked to the property for the rest of their stay. I also called the local contact listed for the property and left a message informing them of the music complaint at the property of 390 West Cortez Road, and the citation was issued to the responsible renter staying at the property. Once the citation was issued, there was no further action at the property. And that concludes my report in advance of the citation issued on September 22nd, and I'm available for any questions from the board.
Is there going to be another report on the other music violation?
I did want to add, we do have the code officer that was here to issue the first two citations. The first citation was issued actually from an administrative investigation of failing to post their city ID on their web-based advertisement. And the second citation, which was issued in August, was for a music violation found at that property. If the board desires, we can hear testimony from that code officer. He is here in the audience this evening to provide information relating to that call. Pursuant to our administrative regulation dated August 2017, it kind of guides that this hearing would be to hear the third citation, which is also causing suspension. Any action on that citation would then determine if the suspension stands or dismisses. But board desires we can have testimony for the second citation as well. So Officer Gonzalez is here to provide that.
Okay, thanks. We want to hear him?
Aren't we just hearing?
No, yeah, let's,
I don't
It's
think.
not pertinent.
It's
It's
not pertinent.
the third
it's
citation.
just,
so-
yeah, okay,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. That question, I
Those-
think we're at the
yeah.
question period unless Patrick has something.
Which citations were paid for? Sorry, which citations were paid for?
Yeah, thank you. So the first citation was paid full in March 27th, 2023. The second one has not been paid, has been noticed to the responsible person, which is the guest that rented the property. The third citation has been paid in full as of October 3rd, 2023.
Okay, by the guest though, by the guest.
Yeah, since it's a music violation, that would have been issued towards the guest, and that would have been paid by the guest.
Got it, thank you.
Anything else?
Nothing further, Chair. Thank you.
This time then, I would like to open the appeal hearing. The appellant is invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any members of the public who desire to speak on this appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes to speak. If any member of the public testifies, the appellant will then be invited to provide a rebuttal for up to additional 2 minutes. Will the appellants please state their names and begin your testimony?
Hello, my name is Stephen Bitton, and this is my wife, Nicole. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. First of all, hi, everybody. So yes, we are appealing, the suspension that we have. This home means a lot to us. We've spent our entire life savings. It's our first property. We've got 202. This was our investment that we made. We got the first week that we listed it on Airbnb, we had put in a permit number instead of a city ID number. So we had a number, the wrong number. We had called, they said, not a big deal. You can appeal it, but pay it. And so that's what we did. We paid it. We didn't appeal it. We thought, okay, no big deal. Things continued as normal, and then, as you mentioned, in August, we got the music violation. I was out of the country, but I got a phone call, immediately called the guest, notified the guest, and then ever since that phone call, every welcome message or inquiry has mentioned the noise ordinance and that everybody knows you cannot make noise. And that has been a priority. And then it happened one last time, literally 1 week prior to the renewal. And so we came to the city and renewed in person. There was no mention. We were able to renew, and we said, okay, well, we renewed, right? There's no issue. And then we got a letter of suspension. Not trying to make excuses for the noise. We also did, when we renewed the license that same day, we bought like 20 cakes to go to all the neighbors, introduce ourselves and make sure that there was no issues moving forward. And then it turns out we only have one actual neighbor over there. Everybody else around us, behind us is an Airbnb, a vacation rental. And so we had, spoken to the neighbor, introduced ourselves and our family, and we're in very good relationships now. But,
But regardless, to rectify the situation that happened, we've gone ahead and we've installed, it's like a noise machine. And so it senses decibels of noise. And so now we get notified to our phones if there's loud music on the property. But regardless of, we have signs posted in the home saying that there's $2,000 fines for anybody that plays loud music, that it cannot be heard outside of the property line. Obviously, we're not physically there during the time of our guest stay, so we don't have actual physical control, but we notify them via messages. We send reminder messages, letting them know the noise ordinances. We're doing our best to be good neighbors and be good to the citizens that live in the city of Palm Springs. I know that we are coming as outsiders into your city. And so we'd like to, first of all, apologize. Obviously, there is a lot of misunderstanding. This is our first vacation rental property ever.
our first property, period.
Right. And so, we're both young, we're learning, and so this is kind of our obstacles in life. In addition to that, like he mentioned, we made really good terms with our neighbor, and we said, hey, if you ever have any issues, call us, we'll handle it immediately, within not even 5 minutes. We're readily available on our phones 24 hours a day. We literally have 2 kids that do not sleep. So that's always fun.
The scary part for us is not being able to Airbnb it, especially for a 2-year suspension on these. We'd run the risk of losing the home at that point. And so, it's important for us to appeal this. And
Right. Also, the first violation was that we put the permit number. So we're in construction as our regular day jobs. So in construction, you would put a permit number on your, any kind of license number information. And so I didn't realize that it was supposed to be city ID and not permit number. Permit number was what was posted, not city ID. And as soon as we were notified, we adjusted that immediately. I think other than that, we had sent over a long message, and I had also spoken to the lovely lady sitting there with the 2 computers. She kind of went over everything with me when we physically came into the city to appeal the citations and the suspension. And she kind of said, hey, this is how you would appeal things. This is the process. This is the steps. And she was very, very helpful and very informative. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the help.
we appreciate your time.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Do we have questions from the board? Michael's shaking his head.
So I have a couple of questions. So I'm not sure it's really pertinent to us because what you're appealing is really the 3rd citation, but when you talk about the permit number, what number are you referring to?
So when we were first issued our license, it came with 2 numbers. One was a city ID number and one was a permit number, and they were both on the same document. And so when we went to go list the property on Airbnb, it says permit number, and it was like 9306, and then another one was like 8654, whatever the number was. So 4-digit number, 4-digit number. And so we had put the permit number, and that was the first violation. Had we have not received that first violation, we wouldn't be in this position today.
Okay, so then, thank you. My second question is, walk us through, if you can, kind of what your check-in procedure was. Like, how are you communicating to people before, how are you communicating to people before the rules, the strict city rules around music?
So everything has been communication on the Airbnb application, messaging with the guests or whoever's inquiring. We would always send a templated long message with check-in instructions, and be courteous and respectful and don't bother the neighbors. Prior to that, it wasn't specifically about, noise ordinance. We hadn't had a complaint about that, from March when we started up until August, when we got our first one. When we got our first one, we took care of it immediately, reach out to the guests immediately, reach out to a local contact that we have, ask them to go over and make sure that the music had stopped. Because we did get notified on that phone call that if they had to get called back again a second time, that would be another. And that would have been, if they came back, a third citation back in August. Definitely, we wanted to avoid that. And we were happy for the renewal date because then we know, okay, we can start fresh and make sure we include this noise ordinance, which we have since August. So the same templated message with a huge section in there dedicated to the noise ordinance.
We said, please respect the neighbors, keep the noise down, but now it's more of a, hey, this is the city rules.
You
If
will
you
get
don't, right,
fined.
you're gonna get a big fine and you have to pay it to the city directly. It's gonna be a $2,000 fine. And that's what we tell them. We know that it's $500 to $1,000 roughly, but we tell them way a high number so that they don't even feel the need to turn on loud music. We want to be respectful of our neighbors. We don't want any issues with the city. We don't want any issues with the people living in the city, especially. But everyone so far around us has been super kind and understanding. So hopefully you guys can also kind of see our perspective and know that we've taken a lot of steps to rectify this situation.
So, who does the check-in?
Nicole and me virtually, and then we have 3 people in the city of Palm Springs between cleaning people, gardening or handyman, and they handle everything that we need on site.
Okay, so, but nobody's meeting with the guests in person.
So Liz
The cleaning lady, Liz
is
does.
meeting.
She's there the
Oh,
She's
check-in.
there the day of the check-in and she shows them how to use the Yale lock. Because it's kind of complicated and we've had a lot of people not figure out how to use the button. So she's there at every check-in.
And also confirm the cleanliness prior to their stay.
Right.
okay. And then, you have said a few times about telling people to be respectful of the neighbors and courteous and keep it down.
Right. We didn't say specifically there is a noise ordinance. You have to, be
Until
quiet.
August.
Right. We'll say, hey, guys, please be respectful of the neighbors. Keep the noise down. We appreciate it. Have a great stay.
And that was prior to the first notice we got. Afterwards, the message became much longer about the noise ordinance, and we purchased, I think it's called Party Blocker. It's a device that she mentioned that checks the decibel readings so that if it goes over a certain amount, we'll get notified as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah,
David?
I have a follow-up question to Vice Chair apparently asked this question about the citation, the third citation. And it's just for clarity's sake. I think it said appealing the third citation, but I noticed in your appeals form, you have all 3 of them listed. Are you appealing all 3 of them, or is it just that last one?
Is that a question for me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was too late to appeal the first one, which in our eyes probably was the best one to appeal. So it's not quite appealing a specific citation because we weren't there, we didn't make the music. Obviously they did and they heard it and that happened. It's more so to appeal the suspension of 2 years for an Airbnb. We don't want to lose the house. And so that's really not being able to Airbnb would be huge.
This would be devastating beyond. I mean, this is our livelihood and this is what helps us basically keep the house. We bought it at a time when the market was super high. We were so ecstatic to be in Palm Springs because we love traveling to Palm Springs. We vacation there with our kids and it's always been like one of those fun family gatherings too. And so for us to lose 2 years, we definitely would lose the house. We would not be able to make the mortgage payments at all. And so that's really
So
scary.
just a general statement, just to what you just said, regardless of what the board decides here this evening, it does not prevent you from leasing out the property long-term, right? So for 30 days or more, this does not prevent you from doing that. It's only short-term rentals.
We did look. Sorry, I mean,
Okay, let's move on. Thank you. Dawson, you have questions?
No,
Patrick?
No
I
questions.
want to, Mr. Clifford, I was under the impression that they were supposed to post something in the house from day one of a permit. Is that wrong?
There's a few things that our ordinance asks to be posted. One is the certificate that has the city ID and the number of occupancy stuff. We do ask that there's a copy of the rules and regulations that is accessible for the guests to review. The statement of rules and regulations that are signed, we do ask that there's a copy at least there. Sometimes stuff's done electronically, so we do at least want that form there. And then a copy of the good neighbor brochure, at least be given to the guests, so they know the rules and regulations
Okay.
and that they're
That's,
responsible.
that's what I thought. Thank you. All right,
Can I ask Patrick one more question?
sure.
I just came across this when I was looking for it's on page 39. Attachment 5. It says in additional notes, oh, it says, property has previously been cited for failure to submit a contract summary. But I thought it was a city ID issue, right?
We never got a contract citation.
No, I'm sorry, I'm asking the city staff.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me find that for you. I apologize. You said it's under attachment 5.
The attachment 5 near the end is page 39 in our handout, item number 5.
Okay.
And it has the picture of the noise decibel per count or monitor. And there's some additional notes on the right. It looks like the original noise complaint.
Yeah, I do see that. Thank you. I would ask the code supervisor if he has any recollection of that contract summary violation. We don't have that as there. Maybe it was something that thought was gonna be issued, but I'll have him clarify. Thank you.
State your name for this.
Sure, so, good evening, my name is Mitch Stafford, I'm the code compliance supervisor for the city of Palm Springs and oversee the vacation rental enforcement program. So addressing that question, on page 39, there's a copy of, the vacation rental officer event report. And, there was a citation that had been drafted and sent for review by Officer Whitaker. That was issued to the property owner for them to submit contract summaries. So that would have been drafted in July, I believe it was July 14th. I don't believe that passed the review process. And at the time that Officer Gonzalez would have responded to this particular address, I was out of the office for an extended period of time. So I don't know that had been communicated that citation wasn't moving forward. So I believe that's why it was mentioned in his event report, because he may have been under the impression that the property was currently their registration certificate was suspended, where in fact that particular citation for failing to submit contract summaries never went forward. So that's in the way the process works. So when our officers get, there's two ways that we investigate for failing to submit a contract summary. One of them is reactionary, where if they've been called out to a property via an act of disturbance and part of their review process is looking for that. They find that there is no contract summary on file, but then the resulting observations, they find that it is operating as a vacation rental. That will prompt, that could prompt a violation and a citation for failing to submit a contract. So the other way that we do is proactive, and that's through the investigative process, similar to the last appeals hearing that we just had, where we'll do an audit of a property owner and look for that specific thing. If there's evidence to suggest that they are operating as a vacation rental, but they haven't been submitting those contract summaries. So in this case, I believe Officer Whitaker had some findings to suggest that they may have been operating as a vacation rental without submitting contract summaries. But when those get submitted to myself, Patrick and I generally do a high level review and decide whether or not they go forward if it meets the specific criteria to demonstrate the elements that this property is in violation. So in this case, I don't believe it passed the review, but again, because I was out of the office, I don't believe that was ever communicated at the time when Officer Gonzalez was responding to that particular.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Answer your question.
It does, thanks.
Any other questions?
I have another. Patrick, what's the notice to the property owner when you cite a guest?
Yes, thanks. So whenever a citation issued to the property, whether it's from the guest or even administration, the administration side of things, we do send a notice to the owner saying that there is a violation that was found at the property. And within, if you get three within 12 months, the suspension will take place.
So you sent us in the mail?
We do send this in the mail, to the information that we have on file. I believe there in the staff report, there's actually examples of that certain letter that gets sent out. Let me go to like the first citation, or I think it's attachment 5 that you can see there. Right after the actual citation itself. This was the second citation, so attachment 5 must be the second citation. You'll see a letter that would have went out to, it was dated August 7th, 2023 from our administration side, sent to Stephen Biden, with the subject saying second citation notice, and it lists the first 2 citations up there. We do that for every citation issue.
Okay, and, cause they were just indicating that, the signals to them, they were clear, if you will, was their ability to renew. You don't hold renewals when there's a citation on, I mean, how does that one impact the other?
Yeah, so it's kind of 2 processes. So the code sends out citations, a third citation, and then we're sending out suspension letters. Administrative staff are processing well over 200 to 300 applications a month. So if they're receiving stuff by mail, they're going in. We may have not, they might have been in the process of suspension and we haven't updated the listing that this property was suspended. If they were looking at the property and it showed it was suspended at that time, they would have flagged it and said, hey, this is suspended. But we do ask that they do renew at the same time, because during the suspension period, in the suspension letter, we ask that they have a choice to either close their certificate, because if they keep the certificate open, even though they're suspended, we still require that they submit monthly transient tax returns, even though they'll be 0. And then when their suspension period's over, they just start renting from that date of that. If they close their certificate, which means they don't have to submit tax returns, or the monthly stuff, when they want to reapply, they'd have to do the whole process again, wait whatever our processing time is that period, and then wait. And then at that time, there could be a cap in the neighborhood as well. It doesn't allow them vacation rental. So while the property is still suspended, we still have them keep the certificate up to date by renewing.
Thank you.
Okay,
Anything else? Patrick?
No, nothing.
Patrick, can I ask you one more question? The city ID versus the permit ID issue. Did staff go back and look at that number to see if it was the permit ID number that was issued in the original letter? With the city ID?
Yeah, no, thank you. I was looking at the first citation to see if that was noted in the letter that was sent to the owner. If sometimes it would say that the incorrect number was listed on the ad. I didn't see that terminology in that letter. The code officer is here though to further give testimony and if there was the permit number, if they found the permit number and contacted or tried to clarify which number that was. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Officer Gonzalez, just referring back to that citation, my general practice is to review the whole citation. So if you look back on the notes that are provided, all screenshots that are provided for that specific citation, you can go through all the information fields right there and you won't see a TOT number. Usually, those are pretty easy to identify. They're sometimes mixed up. Whether it's gonna be any number that's above 6,000, you can basically tell that's a TOT number. In this particular Verbo advertisement, there was no TOT number, no city ID number, so that's why the citation was issued. Usually you can kind of spot the mistakes people make. We try to correct those as we go along, but when you're going over the advertisements on Airbnb or Verbo, we generally go through the whole advertisement, whether it's any additional informational fields. And then we'll go through the contact, the host information right there, and then there's a whole bunch of different informational fields to go through. On this particular advertisement, there was no TOT number posted. And again, you can reference to the information that was provided for that citation, and that's in the city packet.
And just to clarify, that's attachment 4 of the staff report, where that advertisements and VRBO was listed. And when we reference TOT permit, we believe that's what it means by permit, because we have a city ID, and then there's the tax permit number. And I believe that's appellant's testimony, is that tax permit was in the advertisement. But from my understanding from Code Officer Gonzalez is that tax permit wasn't in the advertisement as well.
Well, it was not in here. Okay, thank you.
So is there a little bit of confusion between, because I think, aren't both numbers called permit numbers? One's your short-term permit, one's your tax permit?
Technically, the definition is for vacation rental, it's a vacation rental certificate number, and we usually call that a city ID.
Okay,
But that language is usually interchangeable. People say permit number, some say certificate number. But by definition, yeah, so the certificate with the city ID is the vacation rental certificate. And then the permit number would be related to the tax permit number.
okay.
But what you're saying is, sorry, that there was nothing, there was no number in this VRBO.
Correct. You
I
can
have a-
review all the information.
I have a
that goes in.
screenshot. I'm looking for it now.
Excuse me, but your time is over.
Oh,
You're
I'm
not allowed to speak at this time.
It does show property number, I don't know if that's a VRBO number, or if that, in the ad, it says the host, and then below that, it says property number.
Yeah, let me check really quick and pull that up.
Where are you saying that? That's an Airbnb.
That says
identifier, or
VRBO.
Identifier.
Isn't this all moot since they didn't appeal the original?
Well, it could be, right? I was sort of leaning towards, that seems like a. If they put in just the wrong number, I know they didn't match the thing, but it just seems like a minor mistake.
If you like, I can clarify that number. That number is the ad ID. So to find that specific property on VRBO, it's vrbo.com/3302082.
Right, so that's not it.
Got it, okay, thank you.
So just clarification, there was no tax ID or permit number in the ad.
That would be correct.
This is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Mhm.
Time for further board discussion and questions of each other, of anybody.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So, we've seen this many times. The ordinance is very strict. So what's being appealed, and I'm gonna keep my comments about the third music violation. And we all know, because we've been through this so many times with cases, the ordinance is very strict on that. It's not about the volume level, it's an absolute value. I guess if you can hear music, it's a violation. I guess my impression from hearing the appellants describe their process is, they weren't really, it didn't sound to me like they were really communicating, how dangerous, or and maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration, how important that is until they got a citation. And unfortunately, their renters took that. What I took from them was they weren't communicating really how important that rule is. And I think it sounds like their renters were kind of interpreting that the same way. And they got stung by renters not abiding by that very strict, serious rule.
Further discussion?
Yeah.
We have a motion.
I would move to uphold the suspension and fine.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
The secretary, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Panetta,
Aye.
Board Member Kane,
Aye.
Board Member Vasili,
Aye.
Board Member Parker,
Aye.
and Chair Sinclair.
Aye,
Motion carries 5-0 to adopt the resolution upholding the administrative decision.
thank you. The appeal has been denied and,
Question, what
as-
is the point of?
you're not speaking now.
Shaking hands.
And was, as was mentioned earlier, vacation rentals over 28 days, I believe it is, are still allowed, so. Thank you, that concludes our hearing. Can I have a couple minute break? Patrick, you have to go with me where I'm going to get back in.
I'm actually okay right now, but I can let you in.
If you let me in, that would be wonderful.
Let's take a break, 6:45.
Just a couple
Or do
minutes,
they laugh?
whatever it takes me.
You're going.
Okay, we're ready to reconvene. The next agenda item is appeal of the administrative decision that Sean Williams is permanently ineligible to operate a vacation rental in the city of Palm Springs, and the administrative fine of $5,000 for operating an unregistered vacation rental property located at 3001 Chaparosa Road, Palm Springs, California. Board Secretary, please ensure that the city staff and the public understand their testimony is under oath.
We do have signed affidavits from city staff in person. Anyone on Zoom who desires to testify under this appeal hearing, under the laws of perjury, if you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Do you need to start the Zoom or is it?
It's recording.
I mean, the people are online.
I'm sorry.
There you go. Okay. Mr. Clifford, would you give the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, city staff, and constituents joining us this evening. My name is Patrick Clifford with the Department of Special Program Compliance, and we oversee the vacation rental program here in the city of Palm Springs. Before you is a staff report for the property located at 3001 North Chuparosa Road here in Palm Springs. Some background is that this property, our administrative staff and the Special Program Compliance did receive an application for a vacation rental registration certificate on August 23rd, 2023. Additionally, a safety inspection was completed on August 30th, 2023, which resulted in a passed result. The agent that met with the code compliance inspector at that time was Christina Slate, and the past results were communicated to Christina's Yahoo email address. Additionally, that email includes language shown below in the staff report and is attached as attachment 8. But a specific language from the inspector does state that do not advertise or rent your property short-term rental or short-term until you have received written authorization from the Department of Special Program Compliance. Passing this safety inspection does not grant permission to advertise, operate, or rent your property short-term. Passing the safety inspection does not guarantee the issuance of a permit. It was found by a code compliance officer that this property was in violation with the elements that are listed in the staff report, specifically numbers 1 through 4. The code compliance officer that investigated this property is here to provide further testimony on what led to the issuance of the violation and issuance of the citation, and I would invite the code officer up to the microphone to provide further testimony. Thank you.
Officer Whitaker, please state your name and give your staff report.
Sure. So good evening, members of the board, my fellow city staff, members of the public present for this evening's hearing. My name is Jason Whitaker and I'm a code compliance officer for the city of Palm Springs. On Friday, October 6, 2023, the Department of Special Program Compliance received a community tip via email reference the property located at 3001 North Chuparosa Road. In that lead that was received by our office, the individual had spoken to the availability on the calendar for facilitating a short-term stay. So with that being said, I sent an inquiry to the host on the ad. And the advertisement was titled Villa Chuparosa, which can be found as attachment number 5 in the staff report. While reviewing the advertisement, it stated that the 3-bedroom home was being offered for up to 6 guests with the booking calendar set at a 3-night minimum. I was unable to find a city ID number on the advertisement as required for a registered vacation rental property. And I did review the photos contained within the ad to verify that the property address was 3001 North Chuparosa Road. I then sent a message via the Airbnb.com contact host feature, which can be found in attachment number 6 of the staff report, inquiring about a 5-night stay arriving Thursday, April 18th, 2024, and departing on Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. My message to the ad host stated, "Hi there, we are wanting to book for April 18th through the 23rd, 2024, and just wanted to know if there's an extra charge to heat the pool. Also wanted to see if the check-in time is flexible in case some of our group arrives before 3 p.m. If not, no worries, thanks." The host, Christina, sent the following response. "Hi there. Thank you for the inquiry. Generally, the pool heating is an additional $100 per day. You are paying a premium, so I am happy to consider including pool heating. I will check with the homeowner on that. Early check-in is possible, yes. Again, since you are paying a premium, I would be willing to block out the previous day, allowing check-in time on the 18th. I followed up with a message to Christina to confirm that the dates of April 18th through the 23rd were available, to which Christina responded, as of now, yes. Will you be coming for Coachella? Once I replied by stating, we are, however, we are not a bunch of obnoxious party people. Christina responded with, it's a great house for a group of friends. You have great reviews. I will send you the good neighbor brochure. I then received an invitation to book the property for 6 guests for the dates of April 18th through the 23rd, 2024. Christina then sent the following final message. Owners agreed to pool heating included. You are all set. As soon as you book, I will block the 17th and you can check in anytime on the 18th. As a result of my findings contained within the advertisement, the responses received about my inquiry, as well as the host invitation to book a 4-night stay at this property, I found that the property located at 3001 North Chuparosa Road was in violation of PSMC 5.25.040A, operating a vacation rental without a vacation rental registration certificate, and I issued administrative citation number AB 0606 to the property owner on title Sean Williams. That will conclude my testimony. I will hand it back to Pat. I'm available for any questions.
Patrick? Anything else?
I have nothing further.
We have questions from the board? David?
Yeah, I have one. Jason, you mentioned email lead. Can you expand on that? I mean, was this?
Sure, so on our city website, there under, I believe it's under the vacation rental section. You can submit a complaint or a lead such as what I received. Those email, it's a form that gets filled out and then it gets sent to our email. Our Department of Special Program email, so anybody that works within our department receives that same email.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then one last question for you. On the ad, it's attachment, let's see, 5, yeah, I mean, in the paperwork. I see the dates where you, I think, input the dates you wanted to check in and check out, the 18th and the 24th. But then I think on page, 28, like the back of the ad, it said something about 30-day minimum. Yeah, it says, other things to note, this home is a short-term rental with a 30-night minimum stay.
Yes,
Did you want? I'm sorry, page 28. It's at the end of.
under the about this space section of
Other
the ad.
things to know, so I'm just wondering where in the ad does it, that's what I focus on, where in the ad does it say, you can say for shorter than that?
So on the booking calendar, it would be there.
That's where you input the dates?
Yes,
Okay. You mean, when you input, it wouldn't allow you to input three nights if it was a 30-day minimum stay?
I believe it let me input the four nights.
Okay,
That's why I chose
Okay.
those specific dates, yes.
thank you. You're welcome.
Other questions from the board?
No.
Anything else?
I believe part of the advertisement packet that the code officer, it's kind of faded with the copy, so I apologize if it didn't come through. But there's a highlight under the calendar where the code officer selected April 18th, 2024. And under the select date section, it says a minimum stay, and I believe that says 3 nights. And so that's one of the tools used that, page 39, that code officers use, that while the advertisement might state 28 days in the description, they do further investigation by going to the calendar and seeing, does it still allow to book? Which this case, that we did select April 18th, 2024, at least at that time, the minimum date below the select date said 3 nights. If that,
I can see it, yeah, it's faded, but you can see it, yeah.
Sure, if I may.
I want to educate the board about an administrative regulation which defines.
Oh, would you state your name for the? record?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Albert Maldonado. I'm legal counsel for Best and Creeker. The definition of operation under an administrative regulation, it defines it in three ways, and the relevant ones here tonight are: one, it's advertising for 28 days or less,
Mhm.
but that's only one. So even assuming the advertisement says it's for 30 days or more, there's another definition which says an owner, agent, or any other representative of the owner interacts with another party, whether directly or indirectly, through personal or digital / electronic contact with the intent to provide availability of the property for occupancy of 28 days or less, or to complete a rental and or reservation of the property for future occupancy of 28 days or less. So the code officer has provided testimony to you that would fulfill that second alternative definition of what constitutes an advertisement.
Thank you, counsel. Okay, are we time for? At this time, I would open the appeal hearing. The appellant is invited to speak for up to 10 minutes. Any member of the public who wishes to speak in the appeal hearing shall have up to 3 minutes. If someone from the public does speak, the appellant is allowed 3 minutes of rebuttal. I'd like to open this discussion now by the appellant.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Barfus. I am an attorney with the firm Anderholt Evans, and I represent Mr. Williams. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Williams understands and respects the city of Palm Springs' interest in strictly enforcing the municipal codes related to vacation rentals. He also understands the necessity to impose certain substantial penalties against the most flagrant offenders of those rules and regulations that the city has codified. But Mr. Williams individually is not such a flagrant offender, and he respectfully pleads for reconsideration of the penalty that has been imposed upon him of permanent ineligibility to operate a vacation rental in the city. I submitted a letter on behalf of Mr. Williams yesterday that included 3 exhibits to establish and support Mr. Williams' contention that he has always intended and strived to comply with the city's rules and regulations, and that the violations associated with his property were caused by the sole unauthorized conduct of the one person that he hired and entrusted and relied on to professionally manage his property, Christina Slate. The evidence that was collected and provided by the code compliance officer in support of the citation that was issued against Mr. Williams and his property reveals that Ms. Slate was the host of the Airbnb site for the subject property. She was the main contact for making rental arrangements, and she was the person who sent the invite to secure the rental of the property for a period of time that was in violation of the city's municipal code. Moreover, the property management contract between Ms. Slate and Mr. Williams provided that Ms. Slate controlled all aspects of managing and renting the subject property, including but not limited to advertising, negotiations of rental agreements, and collections of rent. And the agreement, the property management contract, specifically stated the periods of time that were allowable for rental, which was 30, 60, or 90 days. Mr. Williams acknowledges that ultimately he is the homeowner and therefore he must answer for the violations related to his property that were committed by his agent, which is why he accepts the fine for those violations. However, given the entirety of the circumstances and the evidence provided, he respectfully and humbly asks the board to reconsider the permanent ineligibility to operate a vacation rental. I appreciate the opportunity to plead Mr. Williams' case and for your further consideration in this matter. And Mr. Williams is present and available to answer any questions that you may have for him.
Thank you, Counselor. Any questions from the board of either the appellant or his attorney? And Michael says yes, Mr. Panessa.
So, I guess my question would be for the appellant himself, Sean. I think in the information that you had sent was that you had entrusted this person. So who is Christina? What's her management company? How did you find her? I guess what I'm trying to get at also is what kind of due diligence you did. Because I think in the information you sent was that you entrusted her, because she said she understood the city rules. Walk me through the due diligence you did.
Yeah, so Christina, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Christina was a referral to me and my fiance. We stayed in Palm Springs before and at another property. And the host was very kind and very understanding of what we were going through because we had a bad experience in a hotel and they took us in. And therefore, we had a good experience with her. And as I purchased the home, she's somebody who we kept in contact and have rented from Airbnb with. And as I purchased the home, she was able to refer me to Christina, and her husband is an agent that sells homes, and that she could help us out as far as to get our process going with being able to rent our home as we stay in a different state. We had no reason to not trust Christina because the person who referred to us seems like a good person. And when we met Christina, she seems like a very good person, and I entrusted in her. And I also looked into her husband's company. The agency seems good, and she's has other prior rental places, and I heard nothing but good things from the other owners. So I had no reason to not trust her. And again, we met a few times before. We met for lunches before we actually ended up signing a contract with her. And so I talked a lot about trust, and she was very understanding. And so that's pretty much how we came across each other.
Thank you.
Other questions? David?
Yeah, I have one, Sean. I think in your appeals form, you stated that the property, Christina, changed the rental listing without your knowledge. What was your original listing?
So our listing, I mean, I've only had the house for less than 3 months when I went to apply for the permits. So we haven't even had a first guest or not even one person stay at the house. And so the listing, and with my understanding from the Palm Springs codes, it's always been 30 days or more, and you needed a permit to do anything below that. And the house wasn't even ready in time for us to even rent it. So my wife and I was still painting and stuff, and Christina was gonna take care of like advertisement on like posting the house on the website. So for me, that was basically it was just 30 days or more. That's what I knew for sure. And I knew that we couldn't do anything like that. And I knew that when you put on Airbnb, you can't book it for less than 30 days. And I wasn't sure how the investigator was able to get the dates that he offered for. Not once did I ever ask her to change the date because our contract says 30 days or more. And so that's always how it's been. And there was no way for us to rent the house because it wasn't also finished inside. And so it's always been 30 days or more, even now, because we still don't have permit.
Okay, thank you. One last question. Who is Whitney?
Whitney is my fiance, well, now my ex-partner.
Oh, okay, sorry. I noticed in the ad that she's listed as a co-host with Christina.
So her and Christina created the website, and then she passed the website to Christina. And so Christina's in charge of all the stuff that that does with all the internet stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Patrick, looks
Yeah.
like you do. Mr. Vasili?
Mr. Williams, did you hire Christina before or after you submitted your document or your request for to the city? Your
And for the
application.
license,
Yes.
so we hired Christina when I bought the house. So the day that we closed on the house, I went to Palm Springs, and maybe within, I say, like a week or so after meeting her, I hired her.
Okay. And you said that your original agreement with her was for 30 days?
It's 30 days, yes, 30 days or more.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Kane, nothing? Okay, thank you for your testimony. It's now time for board discussion. You want me to start? You want me to start even?
You start.
Oh, boy. Well, you know, I think we need, first of all, for the council to understand, we've had a number of cases like this, and we had an opinion. This is a strict liability ordinance, which means, as I said, we've had cases where the owner has not known what was going on with the property manager. And the opinions we have and the research that's been done saying there's really still the homeowner's responsibility. The appellant has also requested that we bifurcate the penalty and separate the $5,000 from the rental, and the ordinance does not allow us to do that. We have no leeway at all on doing that. And then in fact, when I first got on this board 6 years ago, we got spanked pretty hard for doing just that. So we're not allowed to do that. The city says we can't, and I'm sure our council here will be shaking his head, knows that we can't do that. So again, it's tough, and this is one of those that we don't, we have great sympathy for, but there's really, our hands are tied and there's really not much we can do, and there's nothing we can do. Other comments?
So for me, it's, you know, like, I think as you had said, we've seen a number of cases like this where the property manager does something, maybe the owner doesn't want them to do, but you know, the onus is on the homeowner to make sure they're choosing a manager that is either doing, you know, what the owner wants them to do or following the law. You know, the ordinance is pretty clear that it's the owner's responsibility. Regardless of the origin of the violation, it's the owner that is accountable to the ordinance.
I would agree with that. I think it's telling that original ad at the bottom said 30-day minimum stay 30 days. Alluding to what he said about that was his original intent, but to both your points, what the property manager does is his responsibility regardless of intent.
None. May I have a motion?
I motion that we uphold the fine suspension.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think the motion is the ineligibility, not a suspension, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
I just want to be clear.
Pay attention, Mr. Parker.
Yeah, sorry. I motion that we uphold the suspension
And the fine.
and the fine. Ineligibility.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
And Mr. Panessa has seconded.
Yes.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Board Member Parker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Vanessa,
Aye.
Board Member Vasili,
Aye.
Board Member King,
Aye.
and Chair Sinclair.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to adopt the resolution upholding the administrative decision.
Again, we would point out that the 30-day rentals are allowed, and if they want to proceed that way, that's up to them, and this concludes our hearing. Thank you for your time. Okay, let's go to the next item. We need the approval of our minutes from the October 25th and November 29th. Is there a motion to do so?
I just have a point there, it might be my memory, seeing as I got the motions incorrect. But it says, the minutes say the board members present were, my colleague Kane, and that my colleague Vasily was absent. I think it was the other way around last month, wasn't it?
Well, so this is
This is October and November.
October and November.
No, that's correct.
I think there was one of each.
Yeah, I was
think there
absent,
was
so
one.
I can't vote on November.
If you've read them, you're allowed to.
Oh,
Or
okay.
if you watch the video, you're allowed to, but it's.
Okay, I read them.
I'm distressed that we're on YouTube. I just.
You are?
That's a different
There we
issue.
go. Okay.
Mix it up with my own-
I would move to accept.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minutes from October 25th and November 29th. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion?
Vice Chair Panessa,
Aye.
Board Member Basili,
Aye.
Board Member Kane,
Aye.
Board Member Parker,
Aye.
and Chair St. Clair.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0 to approve the minutes.
Item 8 is the formation of subcommittee to prepare draft recommendations to the city council regarding vacation rental ordinance updates. Are we still gonna do that? And who wants to be on the subcommittee? And everybody talk at once.
I'm happy to do it. Like I said last time, I'm not sure what concrete help I can provide, but I can.
Well, we've looked at, Cassie, you sent it out to everybody, right?
I saw the notes.
And I don't know that we're gonna change anything in that report, are we? We pretty much have the same feeling that we did last time. Well, let's you and I look at it. Let's talk.
Anybody else too want to join?
Anybody else wanna?
I'll just, yeah.
Well, let's let you two do it then. I don't think there's any changes that need to be made. Since we have two, that's
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay,
good. And then.
So
we can-
my understanding is you guys would talk about it.
come back to this
And
group,
come back to the
say
board.
leave it the
with-
way it is, or we want to
Yeah.
recommend the following changes.
I think the big recommendation is that, we do something about these rental companies.
Yes.
I don't know that we have anything else, but
So I was part of the original subcommittee that drafted that. And when you look at it, what you'll see is that we had come up with a proposal to, for at least the first citation, hold the management companies accountable. Maybe you have a better way or a new idea, but that was in what you'll see. Is that, we had come up with a former board member, come up with a plan, if you will, that, at least for a first citation, the management company would be, held accountable.
because, this is a real shame.
Yeah.
These people do what they're supposed to do. They get a management company and the management company screws them.
Yeah.
And the city council needs to take note of that and needs to change it. And I don't know if there's lobbying going on if the management companies come in and kill a proposal like this. That's of course speculation. I mean, I was a lobbyist for many years and I stayed on a federal level. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, do we have a list of, or numbers of situations where we have this happen? I mean, just in the last couple of months, of course, we've experienced it, but do we have at least, like, can we come up with at least 20 or 30 cases where management companies have been negligent in their
I can do research for you.
management of the
Can
property?
you go through the
That would
minutes
kind
and
of
just
help.
tally?
Come back, what, 2 years enough, a year?
Just so it's not anecdotal, but it's
Yeah.
a data driven.
I think 2 years,
year?
should
2 years?
well, let's look at a year, but I think if their numbers are too low in a year, I think we need to pull 2.
Cause I think we've got at least 3 or 4.
Just in the last couple of months.
And it wasn't proper, and I didn't ask, I want to say, from the stuff they submitted, it looks like they sued these people, or going to sue them. Because if you take the loss of rental income,
Sure.
I'm not going to
Right,
do
but
it,
we
there should be
can't.
substantial damages.
We're not allowed to suggest that.
Right, and so
We
I
don't-
didn't. Okay,
Council, do we need to vote on this? The subcommittee?
No,
Okay.
the chair has the authority to create the subcommittee and assign the members.
okay, so we'll hear your report next month, board
Is that
member
enough
comment.
time?
Yeah, that's enough time.
Is that enough
Will you
time?
be able to get a number? Okay, great.
Board member comments and requests, any?
little warmer room.
Yeah.
So,
Is it?
Yeah.
So,
I'm always cold, so.
you had started, you had talked about it earlier, but I guess I just want it on the record. So, in terms of that new government email address, we are not required to use that, at least at this point.
Correct, yeah, at this point, it's more for public records requests, if we need to pull city emails, we can. The Administrative Appeals Board doesn't get a lot of them, if I have different direction from the city clerk, then I will let you guys know, but at this point,
Yeah.
it's at discretion for your convenience
Yeah, I
of,
didn't do it,
But we were given the option, right?
right,
yes.
I opted not to do it.
It's like I set it up, but we're being told we don't have to use it at least yet.
Okay, I didn't set it up. Is it available still or was there a
Yes.
time frame? Okay.
No, it's still there.
But yeah, okay. Seems kind of cool to have, right?
City attorney.
You like collecting emails, don't you?
No, I mean, you can do anything.
Everything that I send is all
To
online,
both, you said,
it's all, but it's just a link on our
on
website,
the site.
yeah, on our
You can
website.
just do anything with that. You know?
City attorney's report and comments,
I have nothing other than
Thank
happy
you.
holidays.
city clerk's report and future meeting dates. Everybody should have gotten a handout that shows you the 2024 dates.
Yes, the only difference is the last two, November and December is the second Wednesday of the month rather than the fourth due to holidays falling on those days. And then the next meeting is January 24th at 5:30.
Oh, boy,
Thank you.
and we stand adjourned.
All right.
David, I'll reach out to you.